Hey guys, it's Mary. If you haven't been to my channel before, I make videos on nursing school, and right now I am doing a series on how to get into your nursing programs. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely hit the subscribe button. Last week I did a video on the nursing application and what that looks like, and it was a really long video and I still didn't get to go in depth on the nursing essays because that's just how long the application is, and so that's what we're going over today. I showed this a little bit in my video last week, but the first thing I wanted to do today was show you the prompts that I had the option to answer on my application. So the first nursing essay prompt was actually mandatory, and so everyone had to fill in the sentence, "A good nurse is ... and you had a page double-spaced to complete that sentence. Then we were given 5 options and we had to pick 3 of them. And so we had 2 pages double-spaced to answer 3 different prompts, and that was honestly the hardest part of these essays. And so the first option was describe a challenge, failure, or difficulty in your life and describe what you learned about yourself through that trial. The second prompt was describe a conflict you had with another person and how you responded or managed that conflict. And then the third one was describe the strengths that you'll bring to this nursing program and the weaknesses that might turn up to be obstacles for you in the future. Then we had the fourth one, which was how is your investment in your education now going to help you in the future as a healthcare worker? And then the last one was how has your prior work experience in healthcare helped you become a better future healthcare worker. So every university is going to have different prompts, but no matter the question, every university is trying to get at one thing, and they're just trying to get to know you. They want to know how you problem solve, what your social skills are like, how you manage issues with other people, if you're a good team member. They want to know if you have grit and can handle difficult challenges and get through it okay. They want to know that you're self-motivated, that you can prioritize things, that you make your education a priority in your life, and they want to know about your dreams and they want to see if their program's actually going to help you get there. That's a lot of things, but essentially they just want to see who you are as a student and why you want to be in that program. So before you answer any prompt, I want you to ask yourself, what does this school want to know about me? Why are they truly asking this question? So when I read the first prompt, which is describe a challenge, difficulty, or failure in your life, and what did you learn about yourself, I see that they're trying to get at the grit that you have, how you manage issues, and whether you're actually able to get over those obstacles in your life. And they also want to know if you can reflect on yourself and your experiences and learn from them. While we're on that prompt, that is actually one of the ones I answered. And I answered it by describing my senior year of high school. So going into my senior year of high school, I was a competitive gymnast, and I had committed to SUU gymnastics early on in that school year. And so I had essentially told them that I was going to walk onto their team and compete for them after I graduated high school. Then flash forward a couple of months, it's March 2017. I had just competed in my state gymnastics meet, and I was practicing in the gym, getting ready for regionals and then nationals. So those were my last 2 meets of my high school career. And I was practicing my beam dismounts, which was a round off, 1.5 twist off the end of the beam, and I punched on a round off, lost myself in the air, didn't know where I was, and so I landed and I dislocated my ankle and broke my fibula. And so I was devastated. I wasn't just sad that I wasn't able to finish out my high school career as a level 10 gymnast, but I was angry and a little depressed, to be honest. And so I described that on my nursing essay, not just to get pity points or to be a sob story, even though it's kind of a sad story, but I described it to show that I can relate to patients who are a little depressed and don't want to go to physical therapy and don't want to do their stuff. And I described it because that was one of my only healthcare experiences, because I wasn't the person that was hurt all the time in gymnastics. I went to physical therapy a couple of times because my ankles hurt, but I had never been in the hospital before. I'd never broken a bone. And so I shared that, and I talked about the amazing healthcare workers that helped me. And so a friend of mine actually asked me to do this video, and she said, they don't want to know your sad sob stories. You don't have to make up any sad challenges that you had in your life. Like, if you think your life was pretty easy, that's great. They really just want to know about you and why you want to be a nurse and what you have to offer. And that doesn't have to be a sad story like breaking your ankle. The next prompt I chose was the what strengths do you bring to the table? And so I chose it just because that's one more opportunity I get to persuade them in my favor and to see all the strengths that I have. So I talked about my organizational skills, my time management skills, how I work well in a team, and when it asked for my weaknesses, I said perfectionism. I literally said, I know this sounds cliche, but it's true. It is my biggest weakness. I get really down on myself when I fail, when I mess up. It's okay to brag about yourself in those sections. They really do want to know your strengths and what you believe you bring to the table. Confidence is a good thing. Nurses like it a lot. And so it's okay to brag about yourself. Don't be afraid to do that. The last prompt I chose was, what does your investment in your education mean? And honestly, I thought that question was kind of dumb, but I didn't want to pick the last one because I didn't have any healthcare work experience to talk about. And so I picked that one. And even though I thought the question was dumb, I took it as an opportunity to brag a little bit about the program that I was trying to get into and just share that school is the number one priority for me. Besides God and my family, it is my number one priority. And so I was able to share how important it was for me to become a nurse. I think my cheesiest quote from my nursing essays came from that prompt. It's okay to be a little cheesy, but they won't like it if they can tell everything in your essays are fake. Like, I wasn't the greatest writer. I was doing my best to sound professional and add a little bit of personality to it at the same time, and it came out cheesy. But I think that my stories are still genuine and real, so that's all that matters. So I actually hate writing. I procrastinate it like crazy. I would rather take a huge final exam than write a final reflection paper. Comment down below if you're like me. Anyway, these essays stressed me out a ton, and I didn't know how to structure them, and so I had to reach out to the resources that I had. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there that tell you how to structure your answers and give you some tips on how to answer them, so I suggest searching for those. My other tip is to have family members read it, just to make sure there aren't any typos and that it flows smoothly. And then my last tip, which I think is the best of all, is to go to your university's writing center. It was so helpful going to that writing center. They help you organize it so it makes sense. They gave me confidence. They were like, this is actually good. You just need to move some things around. And so if you're stressed about those nursing essays like I was, go find your university's writing center. They're really helpful. I do have a couple of generic tips for you and your nursing essay. And number one is to not rush your paper writing process. Take your time, plan ahead. For me, I can't just sit down and whip out a paper, and so I scheduled 20 minutes a day of writing, or I would answer one prompt at a time so that it didn't stress me out too much. And I did a lot of editing. My second tip is to keep things short and concise. My university had a page limit, and so if your university has the same thing and they give you a page limit, stick to the limit. They will stop reading after they hit that 2-page mark or that 1-page mark. So make sure you stick to that. If they don't give you a limit, don't be afraid to make it shorter than you think it needs to be, because they don't want you rambling on about things that don't matter and don't pertain to you and the answer of that question. So that first A Good Nurse Is prompt, I had a page to answer it, but I ran out of stuff to say after half a page, and I stopped because I had answered the question to the best of my ability. My last generic tip is to make sure you're very clear about which prompt you're answering. Whether that's bolded numbers or retyping the question out, they need to know what question you're trying to answer so they don't get confused. So the last thing I wanted to leave you with today is a little story. So one of my nursing classmates actually suggested that I make this video, and she said on the Good Nurse Is prompt, make sure you talk about how they told us not to just do the kind and compassionate answer that everyone gives. A nurse is kind and they care for their patients. And they want you to dig deeper and talk about yourself. And I was like, yeah, you're right. They did ask us to do that. They want to know about you. And I went back to read my essay, and the first sentence was, a good nurse is compassionate and knowledgeable. And I was like, maybe if I keep reading, I talked more about myself, and I dug a little deeper. And I kept reading, and I did not dig a little deeper. I literally just gave the typical nursing answer that is kind and compassionate and smart. And it just made me laugh because we stress out so much about these nursing essays, and we think that the nurses reading our applications need to see this specific answer, and if we don't give it, we won't get into the program. And that's just not the case. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. I think my grades got me into the program rather than my essays, and I know there's other people whose essays were amazing, and yet we both got into the program. It's okay. And you're gonna look back in a year and you're gonna read your essays and laugh, and everything's going to work out. So I just wanted to leave that with you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.